our main focus will be still press, counter-press, winning the ball as high as possible, be aggressive, be as difficult to play against as possible. And I like to repeat that any team who comes in here who sees the arch, they should be scared, they should be worried, they should not enjoy 1 second on the field to play against us.
Welcome to the City Voice podcast. I'm joined by special guest Lutz Pfannenstiel. Lutz, welcome back to the show. How are you doing today?
Very good. Glad to be back. I think from my last visit, lots of things happened again. So nice to catch up.
Before we get into the soccer updates, last time we hung out, it was at our sponsor, Purina Farms. We toured around their facility. It was a lot of fun. Lutz, tell the users, what was your favorite animal?
I mean, there were so many cool animals there, alpaca, didn't really make many experiences with them, but I mean, the dogs are really cool, we did tricks and all these kind of things. So yeah, it is just a great facility. I mean, I think I would, if I would have time, I would go back there every week. It's just really, really cool.
You were having a bit of trouble creating an emotional connection with the pigs. Did you want to adopt them?
Well, it was more that the pigs had an emotional problem with me, I think, not the other way around. But I think, we were okay towards the end. They just were a little bit shy. But all the other animals, I think, were really, really friendly. Just with the pigs approach, we have to work a bit.
So you heard it here first. You've got the Lutz approval for Purina Farms. If you have a spare moment, any weekend coming up, do get down there. It's a great day out. Okay, on that note, let's move into the podcast. Lutz, there is so much going on at the club at the moment. I didn't even know where to start, but last time we spoke, we were talking about the academy. There's lots of updates going on there. Things are progressing. You recently had an under-15s and under-16s trial. How did that go down?
Yeah, very well, I mean, I think we saw again the quality, especially for our U15 boys born in 08, it's the great opportunity to really start the full cycle of development. U15, U16, U17s, that will be our three groups which we will have in the academy. We will still work out with the other clubs how we will approach the U14 level. But now getting these boys in, which have that unique opportunity to really experience it all the way, to go literally from the start to the final development within the club. I think it's great that we are able to finalize our whole academy setup by this summer when the U15 starts to play. That's then our full amount of teams, and it's very, very promising.
So this is the second run that you've had at bringing players into the club. Have you started to develop different techniques of identifying talent within the region?
Well, it's not just open trials, I mean, open trials is one thing to really get everybody who feels like and that he can do it and has fun of the game and just drop by and we look at them. I mean, that's always a great opportunity, but there is lots of scouting activities going on as well. We go into high school games a lot without really being seen that much, but we're watching all the clubs team literally every weekend. So I think all the boys from born 2010 down to 05, 06, we probably watch every kid in the region who plays. We are able to have a look at. And now with the community system kicking in as well and more kids showing up on a weekly basis, I think it gives us even more opportunities to see kids which are not yet in organized football. They're not in clubs and they're not playing for high schools. They're just literally playing for fun and on the street. That's now the kids we also can more and more get organized and have a look at them. So it just really grows step by step.
So you're referencing the City Futures program of Sasha when you talk about like organizing around the region. Do you have hopes that program will unearth a gem at some point?
Not just hopes, I'm convinced that we will have a big opportunity to get plenty of players, not just gems, but players who are good enough to go through the system, to get a place in the academy. And then I think once you're in the academy, it's the chances are equal for everybody. You can really go all the way. If you focus, if you have the talent, you can become a professional player. If that doesn't work out, you have a great opportunity to play in a college team, because that's also doors we're opening up. So I think it's a great way that Sasha's program is starting now. I think it takes on speed, it takes on numbers, and that's something we want to build on a really long term. It's not just for now and for the next years. This is really for a long, long time where we can get the game promoted, get everybody involved, open football or soccer up for everybody out there.
So the City Futures program, are you looking to penetrate across the whole city? Is it like one area? Like, how are you going about that?
Well, we will go regional, literally to all corners of the city, then later out in the county, later on in the state. I mean, we want to really expand that. But again, you can't do that within a year. It's a long-term program. So we want to grow bigger, being really tight from the network that everybody have the opportunity. But Pete, one thing is really important. It's not just about creating professional footballers. It's about community. It's about giving kids an opportunity to play a beautiful game, to grow together as a group, to develop personalities, to do something, thinking out of the box, not just about to find the next great talent. That's not the right approach. Of course, if that is something what happens, that there will be the one or the other gem, great. But that's not really what the focus is on. We want to open that game of football up for everybody out there.
And you went through the professional ranks as a young man. Like, do you have any advice to young people in the region? Like, what was the most important thing that helped you push on to professional level? Like, what was your focus as a young guy?
I mean, it's always obviously comes down to talent, but it's not about talent. It's also about a lot of hard work you put in. I think especially for the younger kids out there, it's important that you enjoy the game. If you think about becoming a professional player from day one, and you're getting carried away and don't enjoy it anymore and see it only as a career, mostly then it doesn't work out. It always needs to be fun. It needs to be something you want to do. And then I think it's the privilege to actually make your hobby, the thing you like to do in your spare time, make it to be your job, where you make a living out of it. It's like a lottery win. So I was really fortunate, and I'm really happy, and I was really lucky to get that go. There is lots of talents out there, but not everybody can make it. And I think that's very, very realistic approach we all need to have, and we also want to give to the kids. But as I said, fun, enjoying being out there as a group, I think this is the start of it. And once you see that you do have that special talent, discipline, hard work, but still the fun needs to be there.
And you've been here for a while now, and I know that one of the things that attracted you to this role was the talent within the region. Do you have any sort of deeper insight as to why this area produces so much talent? Is it like, is it something in the water? What's going on?
Well, I can't tell you why exactly, but it's definitely, I mean, we just look now at these boys born in 07 or 08, I think nationwide, there is not many areas in the United States which have better talents. As you said, maybe it's the water, maybe it's the air. I don't know, but you just do feel that it's a football culture here. That is something which nobody can deny, that kids really enjoy the game. You see families who are really enthusiastic about the club, but also about the game. And you just feel that in the past, lots of great things happened already here in that game. And I think for us now, it's a unique opportunity to give everybody an opportunity in a professional world as well. So I think we are very fortunate to sitting on a big pool of talents here.
And like, let's be honest, the talent that we've got in the club at the moment has been doing really well lately, across the board. What are your hopes for the academy teams heading into the end of the year?
Well, the U16 did really well. Basically still have an opportunity to win the league, but looks like they will finish second, which is a great success. And then the U17 and the U16, we're all going to Maryland in the middle of May to actually have another Flex MLS tournament where you can qualify again for the next stage. But overall, I think we need to just really like sit down and I would say reflect. We had nothing when we started off last year. We started off without a ball, without a goal, without a net, without players. And our U17 literally was beating everybody. We beat Dallas. We also lost to Dallas. We beat Austin. we beat every team we could beat, we did beat, because we have a great group together. Our U16s surprisingly always played in the top 2-3 places. So starting off on that note, it just sets a certain tact, a certain way that we want to carry on, and we want to even be better in the years to come. So now with the U15 team coming in, I have a very, very good feeling about this group. I have a great feeling about the 07s, which is normally now the U15, but we had lots of players playing already in the U16 this year. So we also had very young teams out there. And that, I think, gives us a big hope also for next year, that we can move closer and closer to our big goal. I always say from day one, our goal is to have the best academy in the United States. You do not build Rome again in one day. It takes you a while. But the start was definitely promising. I think the development of the players we saw was really promising. I mean, I don't normally pick out players, but just as an example, Caden Glover becoming a US international, going to Italy, playing a tournament, scoring a winner against European powerhouse Belgium, that just shows that we are on the right way. The relationships we're having to our teams here with JB Marine and Scott Gallagher, as well as, of course, Lufius, is very important as well. And that is what we keep on working in the future.
Do you worry that other clubs in Europe are going to be eyeing up your academy at some point? Or is that a bonus? That means you're doing a good job?
I think if that happens, that's great, because you see how many US players are moving over in a very early age into Europe, into England, into Germany, into really big clubs. So that just shows that the development, not just here in St. Louis, but all over the States, is going in the right direction. I would not be surprised if some of our players will be interesting in the future for the European market. But for now, I think the only thing we, as a club, the parents, and as well the players, we should focus on City. We should focus to get as many youngsters into the pro setup. And, well, the next steps will be gone after that.
Great. And just before we leave the academy update, since setting up the academy, there's obviously been a lot of fun moments. Like, what's been the biggest surprise to you during this process?
I mean, I don't think I wouldn't call it as this one moment. It was a surprise. I expected that starting off completely new, that we will have setbacks, that we will have weeks and maybe months where we're struggling because nobody was used to that setup. And for me, the surprise was that we played a very solid season through both teams, where nobody enjoyed playing against St. Louis. We always were hard to beat. And the thing which I think we have to be really proud of is that you can see already a handwriting and a style in the academy, which carries over into the MLS NEXT Pro, which will carry over into the MLS team, that our style of play is visible every single time you watch a game.
Yeah, I went to a lot of academy games, and those boys are absolutely relentless. It's a joy to watch. So moving on to more joy, City 2 feels like a real stamp of approval for the philosophy. You built a team in next to no time with John Hackworth. Before we get into the technical details, how fun was the experience of building a team from scratch in 3 months?
Yeah, it was fun, but it also was a challenge, because we had much more time of preparation with the MLS Next, with the academy teams. But it took quite some time till all the rules and everything was finalized with the league, so we were not really able to sign players for a long time. And it was a lot of scouting behind closed doors, because we knew, well, sooner or later we can sign players. So to get that team together, to get a mix of very, very young academy kids with also some other young, hungry players from the region, and also signing a few players who have already USL experience and MLS experience, I just think the mix and match was really, really cool. We did not know where we stand. I think not many teams know where they stood. Teams who played last year in the USL, they roughly knew what to expect. But we were one of these teams where we were really settling in. Top half of the table, lower half of the table, will we get hammered every weekend? We really didn't know, and we wanted to go young. And I don't think we didn't gamble because we knew the quality of the players, but we didn't know how good the other teams will be. Now, looking at the results and looking especially the way they play, or also what happened in the Open Cup, I think we definitely overachieved so far. But like it is, Pete, things can turn around very quickly. You're getting in a bad run of results, and then suddenly you're good, and then you're average. And that is something where we need to focus on. We need to play exactly as hard and work as hard as we did in recent months. And then I really see a team out there which is fun to watch, which shows how we want to play. And I definitely don't want to be too much focused only on the results, because development, that we giving players, young players, opportunities to show themselves, to improve, to grow in the men's game is very important. So it's not always about just the results. It's also about how we develop our players.
When the games are playing and I watch through what the fans are saying, they say relentless, aggressive, well-organized, like passionate. A lot of fans are asking how close is the City 2 style to what you're expecting from the first team, and how impressed are you at the pace this project seems to be moving in the right direction?
The style is exactly that what we'll see in the first team. The style is also very similar to what you see in the academy. That's what we always said. You want to go one way, one direction, one philosophy. No big movements. If you move as a young player one stage up, one group up, you should know what you expect, what to do, how you want to play. So that idea, that system which is pretty much unified from academy via the MLS NEXT Pro and the Pro, this is what we want to stand for. This is also how we want to be seen out there. I think it comes pretty close to that, to be honest. And I think it just gets bigger and better from week to week.
And one of the interesting things is watching City 2 dominate games out of possession. Could you explain to the listeners your philosophy of how you play the game and like what goes into that? Because it's incredible to watch.
Well, the main focus is on pressing and counter pressing. And transition moments, but sometimes if you do literally be given the ball by the opponent, and we are the team which have more possession, we still want to play. We want to have the ball, we want to dictate the pace, but we want to be as much as possible up in the opponent's half. We don't want to pass square and backwards in our own half. We want to play direct forward, want to be as relentless and aggressive as possible, and actually kind of pull out of both kind of ways of playing football. We want to have a ball, we want to play attractive, we want to score, but our main focus will be still press, counter press, winning the ball as high as possible, be aggressive, be as difficult to play against as possible. And I like to repeat that any team who comes in here who sees the arch, they should be scared, they should be worried, they should not enjoy 1 second on the field to play against us.
That's awesome. Over 6,000 people turned up for the first City 2 game, which is a wild number for paying tickets. What role have the fans had in helping the players develop, and what role do you see for the fans moving into 2023?
I think it was crazy, I mean, in a very positive way. You couldn't expect that. I mean, the passion the fans had at that first game, but also in the games to come after, was really good. You feel that support, it pushes our players. So really, to all the fans out there, give these youngsters the opportunity to play in front of many people. That's very important. It not just makes us better as a team, it makes every individual player grow. So to play in front of a big crowd is always a big advantage. And if you have a big group of fans who support us however the games goes, I mean, that's what I think just started now with the MLS NEXT Pro team. I think it set a note what we will expect, or what you can expect, or what I would put it actually say what will happen once you will play with the first team. I think the 12th man we will definitely have here in St. Louis. Again, I think making it on the field is difficult for the opponent, but having a crowd which just really crazily supports us, which always will be there for us. That's the feeling I get, that the passion is here. And I think we just want to carry that momentum over into the first team. We're having May now. It's not long to go. Sleep a few more times. Santa Claus is coming, and in the end of the day, we will kick off the first ever MLS game here in the city. So I think it's all set. We just have to keep working hard, get the right players together, and then I think have this unit with our fans, which will be a massive advantage in the future.
The fans are starting to form attachments to certain players. They're all playing the guessing game of who's going to make it into the first team. And I know you don't like to call out individual talent, but does your professional eye look at the City 2 team and see players that have capabilities to be in that starting 11 March next year?
Yeah, I mean, simple answer, 100%. That is why we were so keen to be part of the MLS NEXT Pro. It is, for us, simply a development team. It is that bridge from being a youngster to becoming a pro, to gain that maybe a little bit of extra experience, to make the next step into the even bigger shopping window and the bigger picture, which for me, in my opinion, not far in the future, one of the best roles in the league. That's what the MLS will be. And I think we have enough talent here in the region, and also now already in that first MLS NEXT Pro team, which will get an opportunity in the first team as well. There's no doubt about it.
That's exciting. You're also traveling with the team quite a lot. You seem to have a very close bond with a lot of the players and the coaches, which is great. What are you learning about America when you go to away games? What's the difference between Europe and here in terms of like prep?
Yeah, I mean, the distances are obviously a little bit more, than I would call it the weather or the climate can be different. I mean, we played now in a very high altitude in Salt Lake, and our players were wondering, why are we so tired? Well, I mean, tell you, because we were a little bit higher up. But, this way of playing in St. Louis when it's really cold and going down to Texas where it's really warm, it makes a different way of physical preparation. For us to have that group together now, where we exactly see when we're going next year with the MLS team, when we're traveling to Colorado, when we're traveling to Salt Lake or onto the West Coast, we see right now what we will have to deal with in the future. So it gives us a very good learning process in the backroom stuff. How do we plan? How do we travel? How do we eat? How do we sleep? What are the distances between airport, stadium, airport, facility, airport, hotel? So it's a great learning curve for us, So I think we just can pick up so many things what a normal expansion team would have not had. They just playing the guessing game. And it just shows what a huge, massive country the United States are, with different climates and everything is just so different in every city, in every region. But it's great. I mean, I really enjoy it. Yes, I do travel with the team a lot, and I'm sitting on the bench where I also have this kind of a role as an assistant to support John and the staff, which is important because I wanna know as much about and of the players as possible, not just to see them as players and athletes, but also to see them how are they as young adults, as human beings, and that's important for their development as well.
Are the players enjoying the crowds? Because at Salt Lake, it was quite an impressive crowd that showed up. Like, does playing in front of is it a big difference as a professional, or do you just shut them out? Like, how does it affect nerves?
Well, I think it's always an honor, and it's great to play in front of more people. When I played in the English Premier League and I played in the reserves, we sometimes had just a few people with umbrellas standing there because it rained all the time, as you know, as you're English. But it's a different atmosphere playing in front of 50 or 60,000. However, once the referee blows that whistle and you're out there to do a job, somehow you forget what's around you. I never really was affected by any kind of crowd. So for me, if there was 200 people watching or 85,000, I knew what I had to do. And you just focus on the game. You focus on winning. You focus on your teammates and on the opponent, and you kind of really trying to switch off what's happening around you.
So now we're moving on to my favorite topic, signings. As a fan that didn't work in soccer before, the most exciting part of a summer is the transfer window. Now I get to sit and talk to a sporting director about what's going on at the club. We had a big rush of signings a few weeks ago, and now they've stopped. Lutz, where are the transfers? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke about that a few times, that right now, the only way to focus on signings is for us foreign players. We can simply not sign any American players yet because they're all under contract playing the MLS. So that will be the main part. Once the season comes to a close, we will be able to sign players. But of course, right now we're working hard to figure out who will be our transfer targets within the MLS as well, or within the American market, put it this way. So we're working hard on that, analyzing both conferences, watching literally every game which is out there, we have already a good idea who and what we want to bring from the MLS market. We signed officially 4 foreigners, unofficially maybe one more.
There's a hint.
But we have, it's also not a big secret that we have eight open spaces, so we basically have at least 3 more players to sign. The European transfer market is now really opening up in the next few weeks, officially as well. So we are definitely out there and looking at it, but we're also looking a lot in the South American market at the moment. So will there be one or the other signing in the weeks to come? Could be, yeah.
Could be, very exciting. So you've already taken some amazing talent from the Bundesliga. What attracts you to the league outside of, familiarity? Like what are you looking for in those players that you only get in Germany?
It's not just really that we're looking in the Bundesliga. It's a bit of a coincidence there as well. I mean, of course, I do know the league pretty well, having previously worked there. But we're also looking a lot in other leagues. We're looking a lot Switzerland, Austria, Belgium, Holland, the Scandinavian leagues, Spain, England. Also Eastern Europe. We are literally out there everywhere to try to find the right fitting players. But we do choose our players not just simply by the level, what they can do. Also, do they fit in our philosophy? Can they play our pressing style? And not every country produces that kind of players. So that's also something we need to be very, very honest about, that the players we're looking for are pretty much limited, because it is a style you don't really play just easy peasy. It is very physical, very demanding. You need to be the right character for that as well. Like we signed Pedro from Sarajevo because he showed in recent years that he can play exactly that part on the left wing. As a left back, or also if you play in 3 in the back as a wide left player, because he has the engine for that. And the other guys, funny enough, we signed 4 guys from the Bundesliga, but none of them is German. So that's also kind of a thing, shows you how international the football transfer market is, And for us, everything so far what we did sign has to do with the philosophy, with the playing style. Do they fit into our way of thinking, our way of playing?
Talk us through the scouting approach, because you're talking about Austria, you're talking about Bosnia. You can't just throw on NBC and watch a Bosnian game. And so how do you get access to the talent? How do you find out about it? Is it like a video stack? What's the approach?
It's a good mix. Scouting has changed a lot in recent years. Every club has its own, I would call it, scouting strategy. So we do look a lot at data. Data and stats are a very important part of it. I don't really want to go too much into the secrets of data use there, but everybody talks a lot about data. And everybody says we do use data. Most people just think they use data. You need to use the right data to get the right information out of data. So you need to have specialists who really are able to read the data in a way, the way we want it. But mixing that technological approach, the technical approach, the data-driven approach with the human approach is still very, very important. Data only can give me certain numbers, but how a player behaves on and off the field, you sometimes need to still see it with your own eyes. So we do a lot of video scouting, which plays a big part as well. but we also do live scouting. So it's different kind of scouting networks and things like that. You know, we are active to get a good approach over all the target markets, what I just said. And in the end of the day, as you know yourself, it's not all about only scouting, it's also the relationship. You need to know the league, you need to know the right guys. I talk probably sometimes 16 hours a day to people all over the world.
Wow.
To get my informations right. So like radio Pfannenstiel, I would call it. My wife calls it at home sometimes when I talk till 2 a.m. somewhere overseas to figure out about the one or the other player. So that relationships are really, really important to really find the right players, but also get background information, how the player is not just doing his job on the field. I want to know much more about that, Pete. I want to know literally what does he do in the evenings, how does he eat, is he a party animal, is he a religious guy, is he a guy who likes to stay at home, what is his family like, what is his friends like. That is really important for me that he fits here into our culture. This is something where I have I made a promise to the ownership that we want to build a team of good characters. So it's not just about being the best footballer in the world. If you're not a good person, if you're not fitting our core values, then there will be no place for you in St. Louis. Simple as that. It sounds a little bit rough, but it's more. It's not just about football. It also has to do with character building. It has to do with values, and that what the Taylor family stands for, and that what we as a club also want to represent.
There are some pretty major players that are going to have 12 months, or they're going to go on free transfers this summer. Are agents of major players picking up the phone and calling you and seeing if there's an in? And what's your thoughts on this? You know, the traditional sort of MLS superstar player. Like, what are your views on that? And how is St. Louis City going to approach that?
Yeah, I mean, the way you get contacted these days by agents is crazy, you know. I mean, they find always a way to contact you, which is fine. I mean, this is the way professional soccer turn out. And yeah, I mean, when you're talking big agents and big name players, I mean, they're reaching out to me. They're reaching out to us as a club. We also very well know they're not just reaching out to us. They're reaching out to every other MLS club. That's the name of the game. I think you can see that the face of signings in the MLS is changing. The times where Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard and David Beckham and Schweinsteiger and all the guys when they were in the mid-30s came over, I think it slowly changes, or it definitely changes into a more younger, more aggressive approach to get players in their prime. I think the MLS already lost that reputation to be a retirement league, which is great. You know, I think the approach of the MLS, of the league, is very clear. We want to be a top league in the world. 26, the World Cup is coming to the States. I think that time from now, 22 to 26, the league will just get bigger and better. The players will get younger, better, more hungry. And I think I have a really, really positive feeling and a positive vibe that the MLS will be scratching on the door to be an absolute top league in the world. That's what they want. And I think that's what can be also achieved. And looking at the guys who are coming over now, also the way we approach it now as a club, we want to be young, we want to be hungry. We want to have players on the way up. We don't want to have the big-time Charlie who thinks that is his last contract and he plays a little bit and everything is focused around him. No, we want to have a team of great individuals working together as a brilliant unit. And that only works in our style if you are hardworking, if you're modest, if you go out every day on the training field and you work as hard as possible. And if you're looking at the guys so far we signed, that's the handwriting we have, that's the transfer approach we have, and that's the transfer approach what we will pull through. So don't expect big names from the past, because we live in the future, not in the past.
I love that line. So we're signing players to develop them and grow them versus trying to sign established stars.
Or players right now on the prime at the highest point possible. You know, I mean, there is you're looking at a player like Thomas Ostrak. I mean, the kid is 22 years old, and he's an absolute top talent in the Bundesliga. Cologne was literally upset to lose him. And for him to go to the MLS was, for many people in Europe, a big surprise. He could have stayed in good clubs in the Bundesliga or in Europe. But I think the approach we had and the way we told our story, how we want to play football and what we want to do on a long term, I think it just simply it caught him. That's very important. That sometimes when we speak after that first two talks, you feel the fire in the eyes of the players. I want to be part of that. That is something special. They're building something unique. And if you catch that fire, you want to be here. If some people, they don't catch it, they have other priorities, that's not the guys for us. Simple as that. So you do feel it. We want to have that hungry guys who are super motivated and just burn to be out on that field to show what they can do.
So you're not hard selling the club. You're looking for the players to sell themselves to you a little bit.
No, I mean, we give them, of course, a nice run through what we want to be as a club. In what stadium we play, what style do we play, who are the coaches, so or who already resigned already, so what they expect. But usually, we feel it on the way they react, if it's the right player for us, yes or no.
So let's move on to players, because Thomas Ostrak is a super exciting player because you've got somebody on the rise. Roman Bürki, I'm going to put it out there, the greatest MLS goalkeeping signing of all time before he's stepped foot onto a football pitch. Talk to us about how you attracted Roman to the club, because he's 31 years old. He's played in the Champions League. He's won trophies at Dortmund. He's prime. He's absolutely in his prime. Like this feels like a major signing for the MLS, let alone just St. Louis City. Explain how this happened.
Yeah, I think, to everything is, of course, a story, I mean, I know Roman since a long time on a personal level. We played against each other when I was in Hoffenheim and in Düsseldorf, and he was already in Dortmund and before in Freiburg. And, he was one of the top goalkeepers in the Bundesliga, one of the top goalkeepers in the Champions League. But sometimes in football, especially as a goalkeeper, there is only one who can play. And through little things, little injuries, one or the other little mistake, he lost that place in Dortmund, and he was not number one anymore. That happens. That can happen all the time. But his quality as a goalkeeper, especially in that age, as you said, 31, it's the best. It's actually still It's a young goalkeeper. Yeah, Roman is a guy who wants to play. For him, he could have gone to absolutely world-class teams, fight for that number one spot, or go to one of the top best teams in the world. I mean, people out there spoke about Bayern Munich and maybe be a number two behind Neuer, but that's not what he wants. He wants to play. I was a goalkeeper. Put me on the bench is like you putting a lion in a cage. I would just eat people alive. I want to play. And I think he never experienced that, not to play. So now he was on the bench for a while, and I think he just knew for himself he wants to be on the field. And we told him about the club. I told him about our philosophy. I told him about what we want to build here. And that was exactly that fire reaction, what I told you about. You felt that he wants to be part of that. He wants to be a leader on the field. He wants to be a leader off the field. He wants to be a face of the club. He wants to be part of something special. And yeah, that was simply, put it in a minute, how we got him. It was not about the big negotiations and the big financial offers. It was about that it's a very, very good match. I looked for a top level foreign goalkeeper because I didn't see a goalkeeper on the market for financial, I would call it realistic ways from the MLS to sign for us. So I went outside, and getting a goalkeeper like Bürki, as you said, it's one of the biggest goalkeeper signings ever in the United States. And knowing him not just as a keeper, also as a person, he will definitely be a player which will guide our big group of youngsters as well.
I've seen him play a few times in Europe, in Germany, and in the Champions League. He's got lots of really positive attributes about his game, but I'm interested to know, what is the key attribute of a goalkeeper in your system? Because a goalkeeper is not pressing.
Well, he is.
Yeah.
Actually, a goalkeeper is, we want to have a a very proactive goalkeeper. A goalkeeper which is comfortable with the ball on his feet, who is involved in the build-up. So when I talk about a modern goalkeeper, this is what exactly is represented by Bürki. He starts high up, he can use both feet, he plays in a way like the last defender, but he also plays in a way as the first attacker. He can ping long balls, he can play through the center, he's always available. That's the modern part with the feet. But he's confident in the air, he's great 1-versus-1, and we know that he's a brilliant shot stopper as well. So he has literally everything. But when it comes to the playing style, because he's that confident and comfortable with the ball on his feet, being involved, that was one of the main things I was looking for.
It's got to be an exciting sell to any defender that you're talking to that Roman is behind you, the last man.
Yeah, I mean, some of the guys, they know him, of course, from the Bundesliga. We will soon have a defender signed as well.
Oh, yeah.
And, we need to, right? We can't play without a defender. And I think it's also good that this chemistry between, I always said, with the foreigners, let us first build a backbone. Let us build strategically a backbone. So we have a goalkeeper, we have a number 9, we have some, I would call it some young guy, more in an offensive midfield role. A left-footed player like Pedro is always something you want to have as well. Left-footers are not really that many out there who can play that. And of course, a centre-back and a central midfielder more in a holding defensive role. That's what's on the list now.
Very exciting. So you did mention the number 9. Klaus is a very exciting striker. He's got a unique set of attributes, but he doesn't fit the vision that some fans had of what our striker was going to be. Can you explain why Klaus is right for the system and what your expectations are that he's going to bring to the side?
I took Klaus when he was 18 years old. I took him from Brazil to Germany to Hoffenheim, so I know him literally since he's 17. And I know the attitude of Klaus on the field, on the trainings field. And he's just simply a winner. He works hard every day out there. He gives everything. And for him, coming in as a young guy into a team where by then we played Champions League with Hoffenheim. We played against Man City, for example, or against Liverpool the year before. And as an 18, 19-year-old to come there and immediately become a starter, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. I mean, we had players like Firmino or Joe Linton who also took some time to get used to that. And by then, I mean, I still was in Hoffenheim. We decided to put him on a loan, and he went first to Finland, then he went to Austria, and he scored left, right, and centre, becoming the top scorer in Finland. I think also one of the top 3 top scorers in Austria and in the EuroLeague. So I always kept my tracker on Klaus, and I wanted to take him to Fortuna Düsseldorf already by then, but I simply could not afford him by then. And now coming on the market through a lot of little great for us, great circumstances, being on loan in a big club in Belgium like Standard Liège, who suddenly gets problems on and off the field, where fans literally threatened and physically threatened players, and him as a lone player, not really involved in that, and he wanted to leave. And Standard Liège had an opportunity to buy him out of the country, but he simply refused it. So the kid came on the market out of the blue, and I knew that the way Bradley wants to play, the way I want to play, the way John Hackworth wants to play, the way we have our philosophy built, that number 9, the way Klaus plays it, is what we wanted. He's not just a guy who can score in around the box. He also works hard against the ball. He's actually the first defender. He works very hard in the pressing moments. He works very hard on the pressing triggers. He knows what Bradley wants because he grew up in the Hoffenheim system. And if you're looking over, different level, but you're looking to Liverpool, and Firmino came from Hoffenheim, who grew up in Hoffenheim in that idea, went over to Liverpool, and Jurgen Klopp took over. He knew exactly what to do.
Relentless players.
He grew up in this way to chase and hunt like a wolf pack, to always be there, to work on the transition. Not to be a striker who, I would call it the the typical target man who stands and waits for the ball. No, we need an active guy, and that's Klaus.
When you talk to strikers, do you set them targets for goals? Do you talk on that level, or is that too much pressure?
No, I mean, everybody wants a striker who scores. And, we had Klaus came in now on a transfer fee as well. So there is always a pressure that you want to score. But trust me on one thing, the way we play, it's more about than just scoring. It's also a striker sometimes need to make the spaces for the other players. You need to open the room for other players to score. That's a very, very important approach as well. So to putting on and say a striker have a great season because he scored 25, sometimes a striker only scores 12, but he was involved in the making of another 25 goals. So it's not just that statistics who counts. There is a lot more how to really rate a striker in the end of the season. But I'm convinced that Klaus will get some good numbers here on the scoring sheet as well.
You talk about Klaus's ability to bring players into the game. What sort of players are you going to put around him? Like, what sort of players does Klaus complement in your system?
Yeah, I mean, as we said, we want to try to catch a lot of other teams on the transition when they're losing the ball in a dangerous area, and we're trying to finish as quick as we can in a 7, 8 or 10-second rule. Winning the ball, vertical play, finish it. So we want to have players aggressive against the ball, winning the ball, trying to look for Klaus as a target guy, but also trying to put service into the box or even finish themselves, because people will try to follow Klaus. Big frame, strong guy. He can hold the ball as well. If we're having the ball, he knows how to deal with a few guys on his back. So I'm very positive about him. I mean, again, I didn't sign a stranger. I know the kid since he's 18.
That's exciting stuff. So just to finish out the player section, we are going to expect more excitement this summer, more players coming in. It's going to be a good one. Are the fan expectations in the right place with that?
Yeah, I mean, I can put the fan expectations pretty much in an easy way. Don't expect any kind of washed out world stars turning up in St. Louis. We don't need the PR player. I said that many times. We have such a good fan base already and such a clear way of playing that this would actually be a handbrake for us. It would slow us down. We need guys who can play our game for 90 minutes. And that means physical fitness, discipline, hard work. This is what we're looking for. And our foreign players need to be role models. They need to actually stand for that. So that is what you can expect. Don't expect some guy who can juggle for like 600 minutes and in the end of the day doesn't score a goal. We need guys who fit in a unit. That's the most important part. And I always tell you one thing. Our club, nobody's bigger than the club. And not one player is bigger than the team. It's all about a club and a team and not about individuals.
That's very exciting. Let's talk about staffing. We'll zip through these questions because I know that you're on a tight timeline. You are a data-driven sporting director. You come from clubs that sit at the core of their DNA. What are you doing to develop technology to help you as a sporting director?
Yeah, I mean, get as many information as possible using, of course, all the data platforms we can. I mentioned it a few minutes ago. I mean, you can have all the data in the world. If you can't read it, bad luck, right? I mean, you can buy lots of data, but you need to have somebody who reads it and somebody who reads it in the right way. So again, it all is based on our philosophy. I'll give you one example, a simple one. Passes complete. If we get a player who completes 98 passes, but he plays the whole time back and square, is that the guy who fits in our philosophy? No, but he still have 98% of completed passes. We rather have a guy who have 87%, but he plays most of these balls forward. So it's a lot of data, running data, numbers, which we just look at it the right way, custom made for us. Then data gives you the right information to make the right decisions.
And are there any special hires that you're bringing in to help you with that process, or like you, Bradley, and John,
No, we are not. I don't expect that I'm also a data scientist.
You're not on the spreadsheets.
So is not John, and so is not Bradley. There is a specialist who will do that. We actually right now in the process of building that. Everything for me was important to have the head coach in place. There is no point for me to hire left, right, and center. Bradley comes in, and then he can't deal with these people. So for Bradley to arrive 1 year before, that was also one of the main reasons that to build together with him the stuffing, his guys who work every day, who are non-stop in touch with him about every single detail of the game. He needs to feel right. He needs to be the closest to them. So this is why we are right now in the process.
And a lot of fans are asking the questions at the moment, like what's on Bradley's agenda right now? What are you two doing? What are you cooking up?
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner for sure. But joke aside, Bradley works crazily hard. Bradley is. I come in the office at 6, and he's coming there at 6:15, 6:30, and then it's a lot about recruitment. It's a lot about planning. But right now, Bradley is already in the middle of literally. He worked for 5 years in the Eastern Conference. Next year we will play most likely in the Western Conference. So he right now gets to know and literally analyzes the smallest detail of these Western Conference clubs. So we are well prepared. Of course, he's involved in the stuffing, what you just said, find the right guys. We do talk about player transfers. Obviously, he has a lot of look also onto our academy teams and on the young pros, because we want to create that pipeline, academy, MLS Next Pro, MLS. So Bradley's definitely not bored. He's out there a lot, and I'm actually really, really happy that we made it possible, that the ownership made it possible for him to be here a year before. That's a privilege and an advantage we have to use, and it gives him a lot of time to simply work on the smaller details, and not opening the changing room on the 15th of January 2023 and say, here, 30 guys, good luck. That won't be fair to the head coach. So he has a lot of time to acclimatize. He has a lot of time to get used to things, but he puts in the extra mile. And again, Pete, I like to repeat that, makes me happy. What we stand for as a club, Bradley is a prime example, a super role model. He's so devoted to the club. He's so hardworking. He stands for that hungry coach who is ready to just do whatever it takes to go to the next level. And I'm just excited when I talk about Bradley Canal.
So because you took a risk here, it's a visionary hire, because no one else does this.
No, it's not.
Are you happy?
I didn't take a risk.
You didn't take a risk.
It's zero risk. I'm 100,000% convinced about Bradley Canal. So is the ownership, so was everybody else in the club. There was hundreds of coaches out there who wanted to work here. He was the one which was very, very early clear that he's our number one target. We got our number one target, so it was without absolutely no risk.
So we have got a steal with Bradley. We've got a manager on the rise.
Yeah, he definitely, he's a young manager, but Bradley will make his way one way or the other.
That's fantastic to hear. And how is he settling into the club? Is he enjoying St. Louis? Have you been taking him out for toasted raviolis?
Well, no, I didn't give him that yet. But we had a few other things which are typical St. Louis, like the pizza kind of thing. Which is great.
Emos was being passed around the office yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you smelled it. So I think he settles very well. He's here with his family, with the kids going to school. So I think he just loves it, and it's great to work together. It's great to have that time together as well. So I can't really talk in detail for him, but sure. Everything what I pick up, I think he feels quite happy.
And the last question before we get into fan questions, how are you feeling about your entire coaching staff at the moment? Like, are you feeling like a family? How's it going at the moment?
Yeah, the whole family value is a big thing for us. This is, again, it goes back to the origin. It goes back to the Taylor family. it goes back to Jack Taylor, to Andy Taylor, and to Joanne, which founded everything, and now over to Carolyn, which basically makes it also very clear to everybody that we are a unit, we are a club, we are a family. This is how we see it, how we approach it, and that is, I think, for me personal, one of the most impressive thing. So if you ask me what is the most impressive thing about that, that's the most impressive thing. I was fortunate enough to work in Hoffenheim for a club with a similar approach. But I also was unfortunate enough to work for other clubs where that values were completely unimportant. So for me, it's a pleasure to go every day into the office to actually spend time with my friends and my family in some ways. But when it comes to walking on the field and training and playing, then you have no friends, you want to win. And this is what it's all about, But we are definitely working in that values. And we are now in the process of hiring a few more people, which is a process which will never stop. The club will grow, everything will grow. But to keep it then exactly still very tight in that values, that's not easy, but I am very, very convinced that we will manage because we have great leadership.
Brilliant. Okay, let's move on to the final part of the show. We're going to do some fan questions. Okay, so first question is coming from the Soccer Capital podcast. There's a lot of excitement about the CONCACAF Champions League final. How excited are you about St. Louis City being able to participate in the Full Leagues Cup in 2023 against Liga MX clubs? Or are you not excited?
Very excited. I think to have international competitions always gives you this extra edge, I mean, definitely, we know in the past it was very difficult for MLS teams to beat the Mexican clubs on international level. Now, this year, things are slowly changing, things are slowly shifting, and for us, of course, it's a big a goal for us to play sooner or later actually in the Champions League. This is what it's all about. You want to play at the best competitions possible, but playing already then in next year in that competition and actually measure our skills with the Mexicans. Great. Very excited, Pete.
Very excited.
Very.
That's what we want to hear. The next one is from Ball Watching, a podcast. In terms of style of play that you and Hackworth are executing, can you share any examples of teams with a similar philosophy to show fans what it might look like on the field? I think they're saying outside of City 2.
Yeah, actually interesting because the podcast is called Ball Watching. That's something we don't want to do as players. We tell them never get called ball watching. So just as a technical note. There is a few clubs out there. I mean, you're looking at the moment, the way Leeds United plays is quite similar. Before with Bielsa, they played a similar style. Now with Jesse, playing a similar style. Everybody expects that, I will say now, it must be the Red Bull philosophy. Yeah, we do have partly of the Red Bull philosophy in us, but we are still different. So you do see a bit of Hoffenheim as well. But hey, again, we as St. Louis City, we have our own way. Yes, you can find certain things from somewhere, different influences, but we create our own style. So I don't really like that comparisons. It's good to have that, I call it benchmarking, to look, over to other clubs and to see what they do. But in the end of the day, it's all about to create our own style.
Good answer. I can't answer. There are certain questions that have been sent in that I can't really answer. There's a question about, are there any plans on seeing if any of the more established players are willing to come home? So I won't mention names, but there are some very famous St. Louis soccer players around the world. Are you putting out the call to bring them back, or is that a bit of a dream?
It's a very simple answer, and I think I answered that question before. I do highly respect all St. Louisans who play all over the world at the highest leagues, but again, we have to look at what we want to do in the future. So, players who reach a certain age, we're trying to stay within a certain age bracket. So that's just unfortunate for some of the players. But I believe that some of the players who will come back home, who are already a little bit in the higher age brackets, that they will have an opportunity to work for the club, not necessarily as a player in other ways, because that's what we need. Also that international flavor, international experience, what you gained overseas. So I can't really say yes or no to that question, but we definitely are aware who is out there and who's not.
Brilliant.
So I've got two more questions. This is after a solid start to the City 2 season, what are you most happy with and where is your biggest area of concern? That's from M. Coke.
What I'm most happy with was to see that John always throws our youngsters. We're talking about 16-year-old kids from the U17s into that games. And one of the moments which impressed me the most was when we played Louisville and we got stuck in against the team, USL Championship, without any doubt, in the last 4 or 5 years, the best team. And the kids out there, they were fighting for their life. We had a bad start in the game, and then we got better and better. But we got younger and younger on the field as well. And then when I saw the way we scored their penalties, the 16-year-olds just top locker.
Unbelievable penalties.
Unbelievable. That was really, that gives you that goosebumps to see that. And again, I really thought over 90 minutes, maybe Louisville could have walked away as the winner. Over 120 minutes in penalty, I thought we could have grabbed it. And I think the whole soccer world in the US, or the whole US soccer landscape, would have loved to see us win this game. But it was a great experience for everybody. And what I'm concerned about, absolutely nothing at the moment.
Yes, that's what we like to hear. Okay, final question from Matt Baker. Can you talk a bit about your approach to involving our entire deep City 2 roster of pros and amateurs week in, week out? And how do you see that changing when the international players arrive in a few months' time?
Look, the international players arriving in the course of July. They're not just jumping off the plane, put a jersey on and play. They're coming from a little holiday, the Bundesliga or the leagues, European leagues, finishing in the middle or in the end of May, maybe a few national games after. So they need a little break, and then they need to have their own kind of pre-season. So they will come into the City 2 game setup in the course of July, and then there is only 10, 12 games left, roughly, till the end of the season. So it will not have that impact that, what I read between the lines, that all the youngsters will be kicked out and all the other guys will play. No, not at all. We will be able to rotate. We have a nice group together. So actually, I think all the young guys, all the MLS Next Pro players, they can gain and learn so much from these players. At the same time, our MLS players, our pro players, they can learn and pick up and get used to St. Louis. So this is like the most beautiful mixture you can actually experience in that time. Again, a massive advantage. Nobody will suffer or nobody will be upset. Actually, that's just a great moment to get these groups together.
I do have one more question. Yeah, and this is from everybody at the club. You're an extremely positive guy. You're excited about a lot of things. But could you pick out one thing that you're most excited about for the next 3 months?
Yeah, I'm positive about that our start in the season of the MLS Next, U15, U16, U17, will be successful. I'm really excited to watch that new team coming in. It's the kids who the first time ever wear the crest. I'm super, super excited about moving to the training facility. Not just super excited or to the stadium, not just super excited for me, but for all the stuff and especially for all the kids. This is something which is also now our U17 group. They are most likely the unlucky ones who will not be there anymore. But I promised myself one thing, that the kids, they will still train in this facility. For a few times, they need to see that, they need to experience that, because they were part from day one. They worked very hard to be with us, to be there, and they deserve, just as every other guy, to train in that facility.
And a lot of people don't know that you had quite a lot of involvement in the design of the training facility, and actually a lot of science goes into that build out, right?
Yeah, this is a little bit like a real baby of mine, I mean, I was literally thinking for months and nights about that facility, how we can be special. And there was so much influences from European clubs comes in. I mean, even
big European clubs, right? You can't mention names, but like the top guys, right?
top guys, which like where you really find the best facilities in the world. And it's not just about have everything in there, it's about the flow of actions. So thinking about when a player gets out of his car and walks through the door, how do I make sure that he uses the facility to the fullest? that everything is basically in his way. So he uses everything in the right way, and we create the best environment for the players. It's a brilliant facility. We have a brilliant stadium. That is something which I'm also super excited about.
Okay, Lutz, final question, and it's quite a serious question, and I had to think about whether to ask it. And this comes from Keith. I saw the picture of you holding a Blues jersey with your name on the back. So when do you make your debut? What position can we expect to see you playing?
Yeah, my jersey comes on the market, I think, in 2 weeks' time. I generally like to watch hockey. You know, I'm born or raised in an area where hockey in Germany also was quite big, and I do have my relationship with some of other hockey players. So, for example, Mika Kiprusov, when I played in Calgary, he was the top, maybe one of the best goalkeepers ever. So I always have that relationship with ice hockey goalkeepers where I'm really interested the way they train, what they do. But I think, which is really important about that question, that I'm only here since August 2020, but I'm really crazy about the other sports. You know, I do, when I can watch the Cardinals, even if I have no clue about baseball, I still really like to watch it because the crowd and the atmosphere is great. And I'm really dying to go to the Blues games. I mean, I hope they, had a great start in the playoffs. They do well, and I really, really support them. So I'm really proud to have that jersey. And sometimes my wife thinks I'm a bit weird walking around with it at home when they play. But, the kid in me.
You also like the basketball. You went to the basketball game?
Oh yeah. When we played now in Utah, we watched the Mavericks, and again, it's one of the guys which, like Doncic from the Mavericks, which is like one of these guys, the German great of all times, Nowitzki, really took under his wings. So again, I just like the sports in general, but I think for us important as a club, St. Louis City, we really need to have that relationship to our sports clubs here in town. And it's just a wonderful sports city where people are really, you can see it, you can literally smell the atmosphere that they love these games, they love the sport, they love to support. Even if you sometimes lose a game, they're still there in support. So, great, Pete, great.
That's fantastic. Well, what a note to end on. A big celebration of the sport and culture in St. Louis, the amazing fandom that we've been getting at our City 2 games, and long may that continue. Lutz, we wish you the best of luck for the next few months, and we're hoping to get you back in maybe in July to talk about progress and some of the first team players that are coming in. What's your Twitter handle? Where can people follow you?
I don't even know. What is my Twitter handle? 1_L.
We'll put it on. It's just type Lutz into Twitter if you want to follow our sporting director and be taken along for the journey. On that note, if you are listening to this podcast, make sure that you are subscribing. Leave us a 5-star review. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but I'm going to say it anyway. And we will be back very shortly next week with a new podcast. Thanks for listening.